Let's take a look at the proxy pattern. Have you ever felt the need for a middleman in your code? A piece of code that makes decisions based on a certain context? Are you in a situation where you have a piece of code that works perfectly fine, but you do not want every user to access that part? Maybe you're thinking of implementing some kind of gatekeeper, some access control mechanism, or a bouncer that decides whether a certain functionality can be used or not. Well, the proxy pattern is exactly that. Other real-world examples could certainly be lazy loading to enhance performance, remote proxy acting as a surrogate for an object on another server, or a virtual proxy as a lightweight placeholder for a more complex object. Let's explore how this powerful design pattern can elevate your programming skills in both Java and Python. Hi, my name is Gene and welcome to Do Some Dev. Let's take a quick look at the topics of this video. First, we check the basics of the proxy pattern, followed by creating an example in the programming language Java. And after that, we create another example in the programming language Python. So let's get started quickly and prevent some Cupid from making us fall in love with another design pattern. Okay, so let's take a look at the structure of the proxy pattern. The first thing that we need is an abstract subject. This can be either an interface or an abstract class. What it's supposed to do is to act as a template for other classes implementing it. Within this example, we implement the doSomething method. The second thing we need is a real subject. Here we implement the abstract subject, meaning that we also need to implement the doSomething method. The third thing we need is the proxy subject, which also implements the abstract subject. This is the place where we add conditions for the real subject. This also means that we need to implement the doSomething method. The proxy subject is also the place where we add conditions for the real subject. And due to the fact that both implement the abstract subject, they can be used interchangeably. Okay, let's create ourselves a Java example. The first thing that we need is the abstract subject.java file. What we need here is to create an interface with a doSomething method. The second thing that we need is the real subject.java file. The real subject class implements the abstract subject interface. The first thing that we do inside of the class is create a constructor, outputting the terminal message create real instance, and then we implement the doSomething method by overriding it, and output the terminal message execute real doSomething method. The third thing that we need is the proxy subject.java, and within the proxy subject class we implement the abstract subject interface. Then the first thing that we need is a local variable of the type real subject, and then we override the doSomething method. Within here, the first thing that we do is check whether the real subject has already been instantiated, and if not, we create a new instance. After that, we execute the doSomething method of the real subject. To bring all these parts into action, we create ourselves a main.java. After creating the public static void main method, we output a greeting message to the terminal, followed by another terminal message, create proxy instance. After that, we create a new proxy subject and save it into an abstract subject variable, followed by another terminal output called proxy doSomething method. After that, we execute the doSomething method. After that, another terminal message called proxy doSomething method again. And then again, we execute the doSomething method. What we need now is to create a manifest.txt file telling Java that the main class is main. Now we need to build and run the application, and for that we create ourselves scripts. Now, depending on the operating system, we need either batch or bash. In the case of Windows, we create ourselves a build.cmd file, starting with @echo-off, and then javac, find every Java file and create a class file, and then pack all the class files and the manifest.txt into a proxy demo.jar file. The bash for Mac and Linux looks very similar. The first thing that we do is address it to bin bash, and then we repeat the javac and jar commands. To run the application, we create ourselves a run.cmd for Windows, starting again with @echo-off, and then telling Java to run the proxy demo.jar file. For Mac and Linux, it's very similar. We start by addressing it to bin bash, and then we tell Java to run the proxy demo.jar file. For Windows, we are all set. As for Mac and Linux, we need to provide execution rights. We do that using the chmod command. Now let's build and run the application. Let's take a look at the terminal output and check the main.java file for reference. The first thing that we do is create the proxy instance, and then we call the doSomething method. This in turn creates the real instance, which in turn also executes the real doSomething method. After that, we call the proxy doSomething method again, And after running the do something method again, we do not create another real instance because we already have one, but we execute the real do something method again. Alright, let's create ourselves an example of the proxy pattern in Python. The first thing that we create ourselves is the abstract subject.py file, starting with importing abc and abstract method, which we use to define our abstract subject, and the abstract method do something. The next thing that we create is the real subject.py file, starting by importing the abstract subject, which we use to create the real subject. And the first method that we create here is the init method, which will create the terminal output create real instance. And then the do something method, which will create the terminal output execute real do something method. The next thing that we need is the proxy subject.py file, importing both the abstract subject and the real subject. Now we create our proxy subject using the abstract subject, and the first method that we create is the init method, defining the local real subject variable, and then we implement the do something method, starting by checking whether a real subject instance already exists, and if not, we create one. After that, we execute the real do something method. To put everything together, we create ourselves a main.py file, importing the proxy subject, and defining ourselves a main method. Here we start by creating a terminal output for greeting, and then the terminal output create proxy instance, followed by creating a proxy subject. After that, we create the terminal output called proxy do something method, and then executing the do something method, and then another terminal output called proxy do something method again, and then we execute the do something method again. Last but not least, we tell Python to run the main method. Now, depending on the operating system, we need to create either a batch file or a bash file. For Windows, we need a batch file that we name run.cmd, starting by @echo-off and telling Python to run the main py file. For Mac and Linux, we create ourselves a bash file, starting by addressing it to bin bash and telling Python 3 to run the main.py file. Now we are ready to run the application. As for Mac and Linux, we need to provide execution rights to the run file. Okay, we are ready to run the application. Let's check out the terminal output and take for reference the main.py file. The first thing that we do is create the proxy instance. Within the proxy instance, we create a real instance. And then we execute the real do something method. Calling the do something method for a second time lets us execute the real do something method again. Having explored the proxy pattern in both Java and Python, I'm curious to hear about your experiences. Have you ever used this pattern? Or do you have a similar approach in your projects? Share your thoughts in the comment section below this video. You can also check out everything that has been discussed in this video on my website, where you can also find all the code examples. And for those of you guys who prefer to jump right into the code, I've uploaded all the codes to GitHub. Yeah, and all the links in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any questions. Alright, there's one other thing though. Did the Cupid get ya? Did you get to see any sparks? Alright, we're through with the proxy pattern. See you in the next video.